Hello everyone. As I mentioned on a future video, this is going to get so confusing, so I'm just going to run through it once and not say it again. I've just done another video of my purchases at Oz Comic Con, and happened to pick this up and say it was a very long read, and then say, oh, you'll get a video about it. But the video for this I want to put up now, rather than I want to put up now interrupting my Europe video programming, because I want it up at the same time, in the same week as the blog I wrote about it. So I should not have picked this up and shown it at my other video, because that one won't come out for weeks, so you're going to be totally confused. I'm totally confused, so I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so this one I bought at Book Fair Australia in February 2026. As it just piqued my interest. Basically, it was almost 20,000 kilometres, 55 days. Peter Rowland and his friend Mark, they went around Australia. They drove around Australia. They drove around Australia. It took them almost 20,000 kilometres. I don't know how much that is in miles. It's a lot. The problem is Australia is huge. So you might come here from, say, America or England or whatever. England, they know more, but America often, they haven't quite understood how big Australia is. And they expect to do Sydney in one day and Melbourne in one day, and then drive up to Darwin or something. And it can take a day to drive from Melbourne to Sydney. It's 843 kilometres. I looked it up yesterday, so I know. And to go from Melbourne to Darwin, so that's like all the way in the southeast, all the way up to the northwest. There is no direct, well, there may be a direct line, but you're driving through huge deserts. And it's probably easier to drive from Melbourne west along the coast through the Nullarbor to Perth, which is the most isolated city, capital city in the world. And then head along the coast north up to Darwin, which again, days. And these people did it. And I'm probably going to sneeze. I'll try not to sneeze, because you don't really need me sneezing into your ear. So, or even both of your ears. So I love this book. It is the book that is, I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to get through it as fast as possible to see how they were going, where they were going, what birds they saw, what beautiful animals and plant life, and then the scenery, rock formations or whatever, just to see what they saw. But on the other hand, I wanted to really savour this, and I'll come back to why I wanted to savour it in a moment, and I'll read you out a couple of bits and you'll understand. But to start off with why they were going on this journey is because Peter Rowland was having a mental breakdown. He was really, his doctor was doing everything he could for him, but he ended up in emergency one day, and the ER doctor said to him, just looked at him after listening to him ramble a lot, and said, what you need is a proper holiday. And by the end of the book, which is the end of the holiday, he was feeling a lot better. His brain had calmed down, and it's actually mentioned quite late in the book that he noticed his brain was calm and it was quiet. And so it worked. Now, it doesn't, having a holiday like this does not work with everyone. Mental health issues, you need to do the hard yards, you need to do the, often you need to do the medication, you need to do the relaxation, the meditation exercises. In my day, they were called relaxation exercises. Now it's meditation, and you need to look after yourself, getting the right sleep, getting the right food, making certain you drink enough water, and etc., etc. But if you have mental health issues, you know. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. But in this case, he was told, you need a proper holiday. Get out of Sydney. Go away for a bit. Take your camera. I love that. Take your camera. So they did. And everyone needs a best friend like Mark. Someone to go and look after you and make certain that you're okay on a trip like this, or in fact in anything. It's like, Mark just sounds such a nice person, such a good value as a friend. Now, going back to this just for a moment, the journey, the adventure was in 1992, and that was a very different time. We didn't have, I mean, I'm talking to you on, oh, my computer's just done interesting things. And I've now got pretty photos that my cousin took of a plant next door. The plant is no longer there, but I've still got the photos. They're macro photos, so that, I don't know, you can't see, but the flower on the screen is that big. In reality, it's that big, so they're macro photos. Anyway, so 1992. I'm talking to you, I'm making this video on a mobile phone. We didn't have mobile phones in 1992. We didn't have GPS in 1992. What you had, and I just happen to have a similar book next to me, what you had was books like this with maps inside. This one's actually of Melbourne. It's even a bit older. This one's from 1986. And so you could have, I'll just show you this one. So that shows you a lot of Melbourne in 1986. You can see the big roads, you can see, oh actually it's more than, no, this grid, that's the central business district, and then you've got the suburbs further out. And here we go. I will show you. I will show you a map in a moment. I just want to figure out which is the best map to show you, because ideally I'd want one that has Melbourne. Here we go. So this is a map of Victoria, and you've got 4 key maps. Oh, don't know if you can hear me. I'm covering up my microphone. So you've got 4 key maps here of Melbourne, and then the rest of Victoria, and you can see the roads running around Victoria. You've got, how about I just turn around a bit, and you've got various towns. So this is Ballarat, Ararat, Stawell, Horsham, or you could go down here, Ballarat, Hamilton, can't read, Mount Gambier. Okay, so that takes us into South Australia. So that little bit there is South Australia. This bit here, down there, all the way across there is part of New South Wales, and then there's Canberra with the AC, Australian Capital Territory. And these maps link to other maps. So this one, I'm not sure how far it goes. Okay, that gives you a bit more detail of Victoria. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some idea of the map. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to a random page. that's a random page of Melbourne. Bentley East, Oakley South, Heatherton. Oh, hadn't quite made the connection that Heatherton was so close to Bentley East. And the map. So up here, this is map 78. This one joins map 69. This little corner joins map 70. Over here you go to map 79, map 86, map 87. So if you want to see this bit, you need to go to map 87. If you want to see this bit, you need to go to map 88. Whereas if you want to see this bit, you turn the page. And that's the sort of map they would have had, except it was not a Melway. It would have been a map of Australia. And in the book he talks about it being an A3 map, which my computer is doing odd things. An A3 map, so double the size of this. Don't know how to show you A3. But opening up into A2, so 4 times the size of this. So no GPS, just paper maps. I don't know if they would have shown the distances between towns. I haven't gone to that kind of detail. I only finished reading this book this week, 3 or 4 days ago, and I just wanted to write about it, and I just wanted to talk about it very quickly and lend it to my mother. I think she'll enjoy it. It is a slow read because there is so much packed in there. He's gone from Sydney. I'm going to take my hand the wrong way for me and the right way for you, I think. No, I'm just going to confuse myself. He's gone from Sydney down past, bypassing Melbourne. I've no idea why he didn't come to Melbourne. I mean, it's such a fascinating place. Bypassing Melbourne, straight to Torquay, and then west to South Australia, to Western Australia, and on and to Perth, which, as I said, is the most isolated capital city in the world. And then up around the scenery that they saw was unbelievably awesome. I haven't seen all of it. I have not been to Western Australia yet. I will get there one day. Maybe next year. SwanCon is on sometime in April, and I would like to go to SwanCon, and I will see a bit of Perth while I'm there. But they also went up north, and they went to Darwin, they went across to Kakadu, and they went further across to the Great Barrier Reef, where they didn't manage to go scuba diving, which disappointed them both tremendously. But in the meantime, they photographed, well, Peter Rowland photographed a lot of birds, and not just birds, but other things as well. So you've got a quokka. They went to Rottnest Island, and he photographed a quokka. He photographed, you can see these two. These are the same plant, and he marvels on the Fibonacci sequence that this has. So this is natural, and it's got a natural Fibonacci sequence. And then you've got this little rock formation, which is just mind-blowing. So you've got this little gap there that you can walk through. And Sturt's Desert Pea. I don't think I made a note of Sturt's Desert Pea and where the description is. So I'll just read out the note here, what he says about it. Sturt's Desert Pea, a defiant splash of crimson joy in a landscape that often defaults to shades of ochre and grey. And just have another look at that. It's just gorgeous. So you've got all these fantastic photos, and I want to show you this one. Wave Rock. That is It looks like a wave. And it's a rock. And it's huge. And it's 15-metre high breaking wave of solid granite that looks as though it was ordered from a catalogue of absurdly placed geological wonders. A truly massive and theatrical piece of erosion. So, the photos are beautiful. His turn of phrase is gorgeous, and that's where I'm going to come back to it. Now, which one do I want to do? Page 100, I think. I made so many notes on things I could talk about in both a blog, a written blog and an audio vlog. I have one spot left down there. I can't get through all of these notes. It'll be a 2-hour video. Okay. So before I read this out, I just want to show you, and I hope this comes through, this. Normally you have a row of asterisks, but a friend of his drew this for him. And it is so cute. And sometimes the animal faces left, and sometimes it faces right. And they just alternate. And it's so cute. So, I'd like to read out at least 1 or 2 paragraphs about a wedge-tailed eagle. There are creatures that arrive on the evolutionary stage with a script, a clear sense of purpose, and an air of knowing precisely what they're about. The wedge-tailed eagle, or wedgie, a nickname so unfortunate it sounds like it was coined by a disgruntled schoolboy nursing a grudge against all things triangular, is mostly in this category. It doesn't just fly, it issues an avian statement, a feathered decree that sprawling swathes of Australian sky are under its personal and rather imposing management. You can't not see them, you understand. It's not simply a bird. It's a significant chunk of your visual field suddenly reconfiguring itself into a shape that screams majesty with a distinct Aussie twang. That wingspan, a frankly showy 2.3 metres, isn't merely for lift, it's for emphasis. The tips splay like the fingers of some ancient, mildly arthritic sky god, perhaps idly conducting an orchestra only it can perceive, or maybe just pointing out that, yes, it is bigger than your car. And the beak, well, the beak appears to be the result of a design committee that, unable to choose between a can opener and a minor weapon of doom, sensibly decided on both. Thousands of years ago, Aboriginal artists felt compelled to etch these creatures onto rock, a fairly hefty endorsement suggesting a level of, good heavens, that mere words couldn't capture. The early European settlers, on the other hand, likely squinted, registered large, brown, not a sheep, jotted down big hawk-like thing, and promptly returned to the more pressing business of complaining about the flies and the alarming scarcity of decent tea. Now, there are descriptions of birds, of animals, of geological absurdities, of plant life all throughout. This is what it's like to read this book, to just sit down. Sometimes I had to read a passage like that 2 or 3 times just to understand the enormity of what he's saying. And I have not seen a better description of a wedge-tailed eagle. They are huge. I've not seen one in the wild, but then I've not gone to the Nullarbor, where apparently they are in glorious evidence. There's a YouTuber I follow, Tara Farms. She's had them on her property, but that's Western Victoria. I'm in Melbourne. Why would I see a wedge-tailed eagle here? And this is why this book is so slow. because sometimes I had to stop and reread a passage, not just to get the enormity of it, but to enjoy the language, to enjoy how he puts words together, to just get a really good enjoyment of the description, of just the overall general. I loved this book. And yes, I wanted to get to the end to find out how that. Wanted to get to the end. On the one hand, I wanted to get to the end really, really quickly to find out how he went, whether he was okay at the end, whether they made it through. And yes, they did. They were having a lot of noodles at the end because their finances were running up quite a bit low. And then they find a 5-kilo bag of rice stuck in a corner somewhere, buried. I wanted to find out if they went scuba diving. And I wanted to do all of that really quickly. But this book kept on slowing me down, kept on saying, no, stop, read this passage again, understand what it's really telling me, and just enjoy the descriptions. And sometimes the descriptions will travel for more than a page, and you'll get one description which bleeds onto the next. And I'm not complaining. It was beautiful. I'm going to lend this to my mother. I'm hoping it will take her more than a couple of days to get through. My mother is a fast reader, and when she sits down to read a book, it sometimes takes her a while to stop. So we'll see how this goes for her. So I haven't even told you anything that Peter did after this. He was actually working at the museum in Sydney, and he ended up photographing. Hang on, it's at the back. So he didn't start writing this until 2025. Okay, he's a naturalist, a wildlife photographer, and his work is deeply rooted in the landscapes he explores. But and that's what this book is. The beginnings. I see it as the beginnings of a lifetime of beautiful work. Next time I see him at a book fair or some other, maybe Oz Comic-Con or whatever, I intend to buy more of his books because I want to see more of the photography that he's done. And if he's got more absolutely mind-blowing descriptions, I'm just going to give you one more because I can. It's just a matter of which one am I going to do. Oh yes, I know, page 303. I've labelled it as Ode to Stereo. Part of their journey was they had audio cassettes which they put into the stereo system of the car. So no CDs, no Spotify, no playlists which you've got on your phone, because of course we didn't have mobile phones. I said that ages ago. And instead they had audio cassettes, and I don't have any here on hand to show you, but you would put an audio cassette into the player and you would play it from beginning to end. You could stop it, but you couldn't choose a track easily. So what they did is they put in 80s music, and it was fascinating reading the music choices of that day. So this is what I want to read out to you. because music has been a companion of so many road trips of mine, short, long, whatever. Nowadays, if I take a long trip by myself, I put in a borrow an audio book, but back then it was always music, the radio or audio cassettes. So every long road trip has a third companion, one that never needs a rest stop, complains about the driving, or eats the last biscuit. It is the car stereo. For weeks it has been our most steadfast and reliable friend, the tireless provider of the journey's soundtrack. It served up a magnificent, eclectic diet of classic 70s and 80s rock, oral comfort food for the long, empty stretches. It was the background to our laughter, the distraction from our arguments, and the constant thrumming pulse of our adventure. Our shared musical taste was the silent covenant of the car. There were unwritten rules, of course, and unspoken understanding of when a blast of Aussie pub rock was required versus a more contemplative international classic. Local radio stations, when you could find one that wasn't just static and agricultural news, offered brief, thrilling windows into another world, but above all the unwritten rules, there was one solemn, explicitly stated treaty. One sacred vow made in the early days of the trip with the gravity usually reserved for matters of national security. There would be no Jim Reeves. I don't know who Jim Reeves is, or was, but I laughed at that point. And so it was, on that final drive with the vast, wild continent shrinking in the rearview mirror, and the suffocating familiarity of suburban Sydney closing in, that the moment felt right. The mood in the car was heavy with the unspoken weight of the end. We had driven across a country, endured breakdowns, arguments, and moments of shared breathtaking wonder. The journey had changed